A boy missed his interview to help a stranger, unaware the stranger was the owner's father. The alarm buzzed loudly, pulling Owen from a restless sleep. His hand slapped the nightstand, fumbling to silence the noise. Today was the day. The interview. The one he'd been preparing for weeks. His heart raced as he sat up, running a hand through his messy brown hair. This wasn't just any job. It was his dream position at a top tech company, a chance to finally prove himself. He'd spent nights practicing answers, polishing his resume, and even ironing his only suit. Everything had to be perfect. Owen glanced at the clock. 7:15 a.m. He had 2 hours to get ready and make it downtown. Plenty of time, or so he thought. He jumped out of bed, his mind already racing through the checklist. Shower, dress, grab his portfolio, and catch the bus. But life, as Owen would soon learn, doesn't always follow a plan. By 8:30 a.m., Owen was out the door, his suit crisp, his tie slightly crooked, and his nerves buzzing like live wires. The bus stop was just a block away, and he walked briskly, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. The morning air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain. He checked his phone. No delays, no missed calls. Everything was on track. But as he approached the bus stop, something caught his eye. An elderly man was sitting on the sidewalk, his face pale, his hands trembling. A cane lay beside him, and he seemed to be struggling to stand. People walked past, some glancing briefly, others not even noticing. Owen hesitated. He had time, but not much. If he stopped to help, he might miss the bus. And if he missed the bus, he'd miss the interview. His stomach churned. What should he do? The man groaned softly, his voice barely audible over the hum of the city. Owen's heart sank. He couldn't just walk away. He knelt beside the man, his voice gentle. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" The man looked up, his eyes watery and filled with pain. I think I fell. My leg, it's not working right. I just need to get home." Owen glanced at his watch. 8:40 a.m. The bus would be here any minute. He bit his lip, torn between his dream and the stranger in front of him. Finally, he made his decision. "Let me help you, sir. Where do you live?" The man pointed shakily down the street. "Just a few blocks that way." Owen nodded, slipping an arm around the man's shoulders. "All right, let's get you home." The walk was slow, each step a battle against time. Owen's mind raced, his anxiety growing with every passing minute. He tried to call a cab, but none were available. The man, whose name was Walter, apologized repeatedly, his voice tinged with guilt. "I'm so sorry, young man. I didn't mean to trouble you." "It's okay," Owen said, forcing a smile. "You needed help. I couldn't just leave you there." By the time they reached Walter's apartment, it was 9:15 a.m. Owen's heart sank. He'd missed the bus. He'd missed his chance. But he pushed the thought aside, focusing on helping Walter inside. The apartment was small but cozy, filled with books and photographs. Owen helped Walter into a chair, making sure he was comfortable before heading to the kitchen to fetch a glass of water. "Thank you," Walter said, his voice trembling. "You're a good person, Owen." Not many would have stopped. Owen smiled weakly, though his chest felt heavy. It's what anyone would do. But as he left the apartment, the weight of his decision settled over him. He'd missed the interview. His dream job gone. Just like that. He walked aimlessly, his mind a whirlwind of regret and frustration. Why had he stopped? Why hadn't he just kept walking? He replayed the morning in his head, each step, each choice, wondering if he'd made the right one. Hours passed, and Owen found himself sitting on a park bench, staring at his phone. He called the company, explaining what happened, but the receptionist's tone was cold and dismissive. "We're sorry, Mr. Carter, but we can't reschedule. The position has been filled." The words echoed in his mind, each one a dagger to his hopes. He felt lost, adrift in a sea of what-ifs. What if he hadn't stopped? What if he just kept walking? He buried his face in his hands, the weight of his failure crushing him. But just as he was about to give up, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. He hesitated before answering, his voice quiet. "Hello, is this Owen Carter?" The voice on the other end was deep and authoritative. Yes, this is Owen. This is Martin Grayson. I'm the CEO of Grayson Tech. I understand you were scheduled for an interview this morning. Owen's heart skipped a beat. Yes, sir. I was. But You missed it, Martin interrupted. And I know why. Owen froze, his breath catching in his throat. You do? Yes. You helped my father, Walter Grayson, this morning. He called me, told me everything. How you stopped to help him, even though it cost you the interview. Owen's mind raced. Walter, the man he'd helped, was Martin Grayson's father? He couldn't believe it. I didn't know, sir. I couldn't leave him there. There was a pause on the other end, and for a moment, Owen thought the call had dropped. Then Martin spoke again, his voice softer this time. Owen, integrity is something we value highly at Grayson Tech. You showed that today. I'd like to offer you another chance. Can you come in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.? Owen's eyes filled with tears, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, sir. Thank you. The next day, Owen walked into Grayson Tech, his heart pounding but his head held high. The interview went smoothly, and by the end of the day, he was offered the job. As he shook Martin's hand, he felt a sense of pride he'd never known before. He'd done the right thing, even when it cost him, and in the end, it had paid off. As he left the building, Owen thought about the lesson he'd learned. Sometimes, life throws us difficult choices that test our character. But in the end, it's not about what we gain. It's about who we are. And Owen knew, without a doubt, that he'd made the right choice. Moral of the story: integrity and kindness are never wasted. Even when it seems like the world is against you, doing the right thing will always lead you to where you're meant to be. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Stories like these remind us of the power of kindness, courage, and standing up for what's right. If this story touched your heart, made you think, or inspired you in any way, let us know in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to share this story with others. Sometimes, a simple act of sharing can make a huge impact. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We've got more heartfelt stories coming your way. Until next time, remember, kindness changes lives. See you soon.